Hey there, we're Tali and Ophira Edut, identical twins and astrologers. Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, where we bring the stars down to Earth. It's the week of March 3rd to 9th. This is Tali from the AstroTwins with your weekly horoscope update. So this week has a few transits. Already on Monday, Mercury, the planet of communication, is heading into Aries. All the way until April 7th, there's a retrograde coming up there. Thursday, March 6th, we have a quarter moon in Gemini. And then on Saturday, March 8th, we have a water trine between the Pisces sun and Mars in Cancer. But before we get into that, I want to back up a little bit and talk about Venus retrograde because it already almost showed its ass like a day early. So, Venus, a planet of love and peace and harmony and diplomacy, will turn retrograde every 18 months. And that began on Saturday, March 1st, and it lasts all the way until April 12th, 6 weeks. The first part of it, the first 4 weeks until March 27th, Venus is backing up through Aries. And then it shifts into Pisces for the rest of the backspin from March 27th until April 12th. Why is that significant? Well, Venus is super uncomfortable in Aries. It's in detriment, is what it's called. That's the astro geek language for it. And that means that Venus is parked in the sign opposite its home base. Venus is most comfortable in Libra and Taurus. Those are the two signs that the planet rules. So when it's in their opposite signs of either Aries or Scorpio, Aries in this case, it's said to be in detriment. So it really is to stretch and work hard to express itself. It's just not comfortable there. Venus tends to be luxuriating and harmonizing, and it wants everything to be pretty and peaceful and calm, whereas Aries is rambunctious and restless and in your face. So there's already an obvious conflict of interest when Venus is direct in Aries, but then add in the retrograde, and well, you have the scene that happened at the White House basically a day before Venus retrograde started. The influence and the impact was already there. Where Aquarius, Ukrainian President Zelensky came to basically makes a mobster style deal with Leo JD Vance and Gemini Donald Trump, who were demanding minerals, access to minerals in exchange for protecting democracy. This is the era we're in with Pluto, the shady, sinister underworld backdoor gangster of the skies in Aquarius, a sign that rules democracy and freedom fighting and hope. Now, I think Zelensky kind of exemplifies the transcendent version of Pluto and Aquarius, dressed in all black, not a suit, gasp, dressed in the same outfit as Cancer Elon Musk, who's never chided Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend actually asked him, "Why aren't you wearing a suit, man?" It's like, well, maybe because I'm at war. But it was a horrifying scene. It was the opposite of diplomacy, of grace, of manners, and the utter bullying by Trump and Vance, demanding that Zelensky say thank you. Just watching JD Vance play the yeah boss, hey boss kind of sub bully energy and demand that Zelensky say thank you. That was the narrative going around. He should say thank you. He should be grateful. He should be licking our boots. This is Venus retrograde in Aries in action, and it definitely ruined my weekend in many ways. It cast a pallor over it to watch that happen. It was traumatic, and I think it really exemplifies some of the energies that we're going to be seeing all month long, which is this push and pull between narcissism and empathy, narcissists and codependence, narcissists and people who make sacrifices, egos, bluster, just people co-signing on with some things that are just abhorrent. And then people also on the other end of the spectrum gathering together and saying, no, enough, and learning and figuring out how to fight in this new ground war that seems to be happening right here on United States soil. There is a civil war going on, even if it's not being fought with bayonets, but more with weapons we've never really accessed or used before in this way, from technology on down. And I think some new ways of fighting are going to emerge this month. Mercury, this Monday, the planet of communication and strategy, is moving into Aries, where Venus is retrograde already. And Mercury's in Aries all the way until March 29th. It joins Venus in retrograde from March 15th until April 7th. So just like Venus, it goes back from Aries into Pisces. So the first week and the first for Mercury and the first 2 weeks for Venus, those planets will be retrograde in Pisces. Now, Venus loves being in Pisces. It's exalted there. It's its most favorite position to be in. It really is a chance to unleash its romantic, harmonizing, compassionate vibes. So I'm hoping April April showers will be love showers because we're in a love drought right now in a lot of ways, but we're not going to get there on some pink cloud of denial. That's just not happening this Pisces season. We're all going to have to figure out how to fight this new authoritarian energy that's coming in, and this bullying dictatorship energy that we're seeing from Trump. It's like Jupiter in Gemini is just powering him up with bluster beyond words since it turned direct on February 4th. And we just don't know exactly how to deal with a narcissist on this grand of a scale. So, empaths versus narcissists. Why do I say that? Because we have Pisces energy overlapping with Aries energy. Now, if you're a Pisces, you're not automatically an empath or a codependent. And if you're an Aries, you're not automatically a narcissist. I'm talking about characteristics, more extreme characteristics of these signs. And we are seeing those. There's this interplay happening. The sun is in Pisces while Venus and Mercury are in Aries, retrograde for part of the time. And then the sun will be in Aries with the equinox, March 19th to April 19th. And during that time, we'll have Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde in Pisces, and direct as well. Also, Neptune, the planet that rules Pisces, is going to be leaving Pisces after 14 years at the very end of the month on March 30th and moving into Aries for the first time since 1862 to 1875. That was when the Civil War began. So there's just this push pull between the very first sign, Aries, and the very last sign of Pisces. So beginnings and endings, and what have we had enough of? And harsh, rigorous boundaries versus porous, fluid ones. And really, we're going to have to watch ourselves to not slip into fear and hand wringing to the point where we have a loss of power and go into a Piscean passive, submissive role. Like what can happen is when Pisces energy loses its power, we can fall into submission. And when Aries energy misuses its power, it can become domineering and abusive. So that's just really important to know because you don't want to go to either extreme, but you may catch yourself in your personal life or in response to world events kind of pivoting back and forth between those two, pendulums swinging back and forth until you find and regain ground. Be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself. Egos are not our amigos, but they also can be our protectors sometimes because our survival instincts kind of depend on ego. But This is just a week where it's really important to be self aware. Fortunately, Mercury in Aries is all about self awareness. It's all about paying attention to your thoughts and taking note of them and learning to speak your truth and to do so powerfully. Now, Venus being retrograde might remove some of the diplomacy from that, which for some people, especially people who have the nice disease, the disease to please, this might actually be a hidden blessing. You know, Venus retrograde in Aries is a real opportunity to fall back in love with yourself, to find your personal power, and to start coming out and figuring out how to come out as your most honest self, maybe abandon parts of yourself, want to be seen again. And Mercury in Aries is really giving us all a chance to kind of not just refresh our personal brands, but revive parts of ourselves that we may have tucked away for too long. But because Venus is retrograde, it's okay to really use this time, use this month even for more of a deep dive and to be more thoughtful and selective about who you share with you. In fact, it's okay to even have this be more of a solitary examination. Pisces rules solitude. It's Pisces season is a time for reflection, and some of your best work will happen when you're simply in conversation with yourself. You can talk to yourself this week. I would recommend that. Have conversations with yourself. Walk down the street, put your headphones in. No one will know you're not talking to someone on the other end of the phone. Record yourself talking, just talking to an audio note, a voice memo. And you might find yourself flowing and channeling words of wisdom from your guides or just your own consciousness telling you exactly what you want to hear. So, Trump is Mr. Art of the deal, but he's certainly blowing it in a lot of ways. This Tuesday, he's supposed to be dropping tariffs on Canada. And Capricorn Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is holding his line and saying F you. If you actually go through with that, you will feel a rebuke. I've been talking to people back home in Detroit, and these tariffs could have such a dreadful impact on the auto industry, which is a huge part of the workforce in Michigan. I don't know how people back home in Michigan fell for the lies. It is mind boggling to me, but we do have a quarter moon in Gemini, Trump sign, on Thursday. And the art of the deal might actually look like backpedaling on some of those threats. I think we may see this quarter moon coming down like a hammer and showing all the ways that that bluster is going to backfire, falling poles. If not this week, I do think Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde together could be the moment where the co-president Elon relationship sours. I think we're going to have to wait another week or two for that. But with eclipses happening this month as well, we have a total lunar eclipse on March 14th, and then a solar eclipse, the very last one of a 2-year series in Aries on March 29th. Implosion is imminent there. No one seems to last long with Trump if they're not in his family, but Elon is bankrolling a lot, so I don't know, there could be some exceptions. But with narcissists together, it usually ends badly. On a completely different note, we had the Oscars this Sunday night, and they were very Venus retrograde. There was a really subdued energy, and I don't think it was just because they happened in the wake of the LA fires. It's like the glamour was very old Hollywood, which kind of fits with the retro energy of Venus retrograde. A lot of muted tones. Nobody was wearing anything like super flamboyant. Zoe Saldana, a Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini was so on her side, and I'm thrilled. She won Best Supporting Actress for Amelia Perez, and she was actually the very first Dominican to win an Oscar. So go, Zoe, go. Two Aries won Best Actor and Actress, Adrian Brody and Mikey Madison, which I love. She's one of the youngest winners for the longest for Honora, and he won for The Brutalist. I really think that's a testament to all the hard work that Aries went through with the North Node and Chiron in your sign over the last 2 years. Now, you still have Chiron in Aries until 2027, but the North Node in Aries kind of ripped you up and made you do this like really hard work and push yourself from July 17th, 2023 until just this last January 11th. So Aries like Adrian and Mikey are coming out strong, coming out shining, which I've seen a lot of Aries out there doing. The planets don't give us more than we can handle. Aries, you're the strongest and you're weathering Venus retrograde this time and Mercury retrograde together. Venus was last retrograde in Aries and Pisces in March and half of April of 2017. So if you can think back 8 years, Venus actually goes retrograde in the same signs every 8 years. And it retrogrades in this five-pointed star through the same five groupings of signs. I'll do an Instagram about that to explain it because you kind of have to see it, but it's fascinating. Like the sacred geometry, if you were to draw a line between the five signs that Venus retrogrades through in its cycles every 18 months, they literally make a five-pointed star. Even when retrograde, Venus is still creating something beautiful and magical for us to observe. It's sacred geometry. So I'll definitely make an Instagram about that because it needs a visual representation for you to see it. But just a fun fact. So for all of us, look back in your timelines and your calendars, what was happening in your life in March and the first half of April of 2017. You might see some echoes of that happening again now. This weekend on Saturday, and we'll feel it all weekend, there's a lovely water trine between the sun and Mars. Mars is finally direct in Cancer. The sun is in Pisces, compassionate, loving, creative Pisces, and Mars is direct in Cancer, the sign of home and family. It's a water trine. So, this is a time to really do some deep healing, communing, gathering with your chosen family, your soul squad, the people you love. And the sun and Mars are power planets, the rulers of Leo and Aries. You might actually gather a group to do some visualization, some group dreaming and activism and brainstorming and educating people on how to get their power back in these unprecedented modern times. Do you have someone in your community who knows how to work with the power structures in government? Bring them in, have them break it down for others, or get your minds off that altogether and go to the spa or dress up or listen to music or do something to personally power yourselves up so that you have the energy to face the next week. Because God knows by next weekend, we might be having soul cringes, hand wringing, fist balling reactions to another outrageous stunt. The narcissists versus the empaths. Like I said, the narcissist versus the codependent. That's a lock and key fit. Those two archetypes find each other. The codependent says, "Oh, I can see the good in them." And the narcissist takes advantage of that and uses it for their personal gain. It's painful, it's agonizing, and this month is going to deliver more of those blows. Learning techniques on how to deal with narcissists, like gray rocking, meaning you become like a neutral gray rock and you just don't give them any ammo to work with. It's tough though, because obviously you need to push back against these egregious oversteps, but you have to do it strategically. We are here in this collective dream, collective reality. I heard this, I don't know her name, but it was an elder British mystic who was talking about how our collective dream needs to be stronger than the magicians. She said there's a lot of magicians now and they're powerful, but our collective dreaming in response to that can be just as powerful, if not more powerful. So I think it's unifying on the dream. That was what made MLK speech, "I have a dream," so profound. He laid out a dream that people could visualize. He laid out a message like that. But what is that dream? I think it's coming back around. Sometimes it takes an extreme push to one direction for a pendulum swing back to the other. I am going to just remain a Pollyanna who believes in the good, the innate good, like Anne Frank, who still believed that people were innately good. I believe that too. But when we see such egregious assaults on democracy and humanity as we are right now, it's easy to forget that. Don't forget that. The Sun and Mars trine this weekend could bring really important reminders of the importance of the feminine, the power of the divine feminine. Sun in Pisces, Mars in Cancer, the nurturer, the power of the collective feminine dream, too, which you don't have to be female gendered or identified to tap into. We all have access to that. I'm going to leave it there this week. If you're enjoying the podcast, we would so appreciate it if you could just hit the follow or subscribe button on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you're listening, and give us a 5-star rating if you're loving it too. That really helps us keep this going. We appreciate your listening so much and really encourage you to use this week to fall in love with every part of yourself again. As always, thanks for listening. You can discover more of your star power at astrocell.com and be sure to follow us on social at AstroTwins. Join us next time for more cosmic fun.